Welcome back to Terror Takeover, your one-stop shop for all things creepy, disgusting, and horrifying. I'm your host, Crow,
And I'm Shar.
and we are here for another episode. Shar's back last week, or not last
Yes.
week, the week before I did it by myself, which was nerve-wracking,
Oh
but
my
actually fun.
God.
So I get why you were
Yeah.
nervous the last time you did your solo episode.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but you did a good job and
Oh,
episodes is really
thanks.
great. So I hope everyone go check it out if you haven't already. My
For
girl ate
sure.
it up. So,
Yeah, I will
but it's
also
good to
say
be back.
that absolutely love having you back. It feels like forever since we did this. And also, I know that not everybody was stoked about it, but I'm like so happy that we switched to the like bi-weekly thing. Is that the right word? Or does that mean twice a week? I'm happy that we switched to the every other week thing because it's made this a lot more doable and a lot easier for us. So, and we have more time to actually watch the movies and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like we actually have live now, folks. So as much as we love watching movies and doing the pod, like we have room for that and everything else going on in our lives now. So it's much better.
Yeah,
And hopefully we're doing
absolutely.
much better with our episodes now, really committing to the movies that we do choose to talk about. So
For sure, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, also, I think this is kind of like an unspoken thing, or I don't know that it's really 100% an agreement, but we also have been doing a lot more newer movies, and we're trying to stay in the loop
Yes.
about things that are coming out now and in the near future, just because we love our older films, but I feel like a lot of people are tired of hearing the same old thing. And we can always have like an episode once in a while in which we talk about like revisit older films. But I think it's fun
Yeah.
to keep up with what's coming out, and also it helps us stay in the know and things like that. So,
Yes, we are your one-stop shop for all things horror. So we're keeping it
period.
trendy, we're keeping it current, and we already established ourselves as like we've been there, done that, seen the old heads, and
For
now we're getting the new
sure.
thing. So it's really cool.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So, Shara came to
Yeah.
visit last week for the 4th of July or for our
Yes.
holiday. We were off. So, we got to do our
Yes.
thing, which is amazing because every time you come over, and I'm fine with it, like you're more than welcome to, but you're always working, and I feel bad
I
because I'm like,
know.
damn, I'm like running all over the place, and like you're just like glued to your screen, like working on
I know.
something very important. So it was nice for you to just be able to relax and like for us to like, just do
Yes.
our thing.
Literally just chill and like hang out with the
Yeah.
fam, go out,
Mm-hmm.
see a movie, just like be
Yep.
girls, doing our thing. So I was very happy to relax. I'm
Absolutely.
already
Yeah.
back at work, but it
Yeah.
is what it is.
Well,
I'll see
it
you
is what
again
it is.
soon, hopefully.
Absolutely. Also, we got a photo shoot done, which is great.
Yes,
We got a photo
yes, with
shoot
our
done with
fave
our guy
photographer.
Tyson. Absolutely. We
Yay.
love him. He's done all of our pictures so far, all of our Terror Takeover promos. So we will be posting some pictures from our last photo shoot very soon. Love them as usual. And we made t shirts for them. So maybe one day we'll list
Yes.
those, but we'll see.
Oh
That's just a
gosh, I
whole
should have
nother
worn
thing.
my Terra Takeover tee. You'll see it
Oh,
in the
I forgot
photos for
to.
sure.
Absolutely. We'll
Nah, it's
post
okay.
them. And yeah, they're super cute. I love them. So I made them. So of course I love them.
Of
But
course.
anyway, yeah, that's super cool. So you did mention how we watched a movie. If you've seen the
Yes.
title of this episode, then you know what movie that was already. We finally watched Maxine. This is a movie
Yes.
that it's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while now. So that is what this episode is going to be about. But before that,
Yes.
we have a few pieces of news that we want to mention. First and foremost, this happened literally today.
Sad
Absolutely
news.
mind blowing. Rest in peace, Shelley Duvall. Like, if you haven't heard, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that is utterly insane. I was shocked when
Yeah.
I heard that because, first of all, she's super young. I think she was like 70 years old.
Yeah, like
But
75.
also 75. Also,
Yeah.
man, me and Tyson were just talking about. He sent me a picture of her, the one in the. She's got like this color block, like very 70s outfit on, and he's like, "We need to
Yeah.
recreate this," and I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do
Yes. Oh
that."
my God.
Yeah, I mean, just such a bummer. What a horrible thing. I mean, obviously now we have to do that shoot because it'll be like
Yeah, an homage or a tribute to her. Not an homage, a tribute
absolutely,
to
yeah,
her.
definitely,
She was
yeah,
so beautiful and such a unique person. And I
so
mean, I don't know if I
unique.
call her a scream queen, but she was just such a notable figure in horror and just an amazing
Yes,
person. So it really is a
absolutely.
loss for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge loss. I mean, such a wide breadth of things that she did in her film career, and also, like you said, very uniquely beautiful. Like there is no one that looks like her. Like her big,
Yes.
gorgeous eyes. I mean, just like super adorable. Like what a shame.
Oh,
Anyway, rest
thanks.
in peace. Our thoughts are with her family. A true
Yeah.
tragedy, but she had a lot of life in her years, and we're definitely. I'm going to be binging like all of her stuff,
Hell
probably.
yeah.
So.
Probably put on The Shining again. Let's get into it for
Oh,
real. That's
absolutely.
mine, but
Yeah, for sure. She's got this show as well. I forgot the name of it, but it's been making the rounds. that was like
Nice.
her own personal show in which she like dressed up like a
Oh,
fairy and she just looked really pretty and it was just super cute and like very like full of
cute.
whimsy. So I'm gonna have to look into that one if I find the name of it.
Yes,
Um, I'll mention it. But yeah, very, very, very tragic. A
for
next
sure.
bit of news that we have to mention: Longlegs comes out tomorrow, which is July the 12th. So we
Yes.
are like so stoked. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be opening weekend. So I'm super excited for that to come out because I've been seeing nothing but amazing reviews for that. I'm talking people are like saying, there was one I saw that was like, Nick Cage is unrecognizable in this film. And every time he was on the screen, I felt sick to my
Mm,
stomach. And I was like, I'm watching that like the
yeah,
first day. Like that sounds
like Nick
amazing.
Cage, but he
Yeah.
is in his horror. He's in his Scream King bag lately. He's been
Oh,
doing a lot of scary stuff, so
1000%.
I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then
Everyone's getting
also he's
freaky.
very involved with the Dead by Daylight stuff as well. He's in the
Yes.
game. And then
Yeah.
also there is talks of a Dead by Daylight movie. You never know. Like Dead by Daylight
I
people love to
know.
talk. But if there is, I would be shocked if he wasn't in it. So
For sure. For sure.
yeah, he's in his horror bag 100%.
Yeah.
And we love Micah Monroe. So
Yes, she's a
yeah,
beauty queen. And it just sounds really interesting,
absolutely.
really unique. I force myself not to read too much because I love going into a movie blind, but
You
between like the
do.
FBI, the serial killer vibes, I'm just like, yeah, bet. I'm trying to the occult
This
stuff.
sounds
That's my bag.
exactly like what we like. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So good. I just want to mention there's a bunch of really good movies coming out soon. They have Alien and Romulus coming out next month. We were just talking about Cuckoo, which I'm not sure exactly when that one comes out, but it's soon.
Yeah, I
September,
think
I
it's
think is
later
what you
this
said.
month. No,
Um,
September is Beetlejuice because when
oh,
that's
got you.
coming out.
Beetlejuice.
The
Right.
new Beetlejuice. Yeah.
Also, if you haven't seen the trailer for Nosferatu yet, I think I might have mentioned that in the last episode. Go watch it. Looks
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
That one is going to be such a banger. And then also, Strangers Chapter 1 comes out on VOD at the end of this month. So if you didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to check that out in theaters, now's your chance to check it out on streaming services, which is my preferred method of watching movies, unfortunately. I'm trying to get better about going to the movies, but I don't like sitting in a dark room by myself.
Yeah.
So
That's
it
fair.
stresses me out. Yeah.
No, you can get your summer ween anywhere you need to. So
Absolutely.
I'm super happy that we're just having like for real. It is like a horror summer. Like it's just movie after movie that we've
Yeah.
been waiting for. So I'm super pumped. Whether you go to theaters or watch at home with your friends, like I'm just enjoying everything coming out and lots of new faces too. So
Absolutely. We were
really
saying
happy.
during our like horror movies wrapped episode for the new year, we were saying like this year's going to be amazing for horror movies, and it really, really has been.
It
So
is.
that even if the movie wasn't 100% perfect, I'm happy that we had the opportunity to see a horror movie in theaters that was hyped, that there was any talks
Yes.
about it all. So
Yeah, especially
that's
for
always
us.
cool.
As you can
Yeah,
see, I tried to do a little Maxine moment here,
love
but
it. Yeah,
yeah, let's talk about the
absolutely.
movie.
Let's get into it. So we watched MaXXXine. As you guys know, we have been hyping this movie up for quite literally like several months now. So
Yeah.
this was a long time coming, and I will say, do I believe that that affected my opinion of the movie because I had hyped it up so much for myself? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit. We're going to break it totally down for you, and if you've seen any talk about this movie, then you know that it was very controversial, and that the
Yes.
reviews were all over the place. So for those of you who don't know, MaXXXine is the third movie in the X trilogy, which is X, then Pearl, which was the prequel, which came out on the same, I think they were released on the same day. And then MaXXXine comes out about a year later.
I guess we can talk a little bit about the movie as well. I'm sure people that are watching this kind of already know, but
Yeah.
essentially, X was sort of inspired by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You have Maxine's character
Right.
who's kind of like in the porn industry with this gang of people who are all trying to like shoot a movie at this scary, sketchy house. And there's this older
Mm-hmm.
woman there and an older couple who are just bad vibes. And also, I will
Yeah.
say, we won't get into this now, but there is a lot of discourse going on right now on Twitter about how like old people maybe should be considered horror. Like we're all gonna be old one day. Like why is being old scary? But to be fair, this chick was like anyway, no spoilers, but the old people were
Yeah.
not the friendly and nice couple that you run into, okay? And
Right.
speaking of, that kind of leads into the movie Pearl, which gives the backstory not of Maxine, which I think a lot of people thought because Mia Goth,
Right.
was in each movie, but it gives the backstory of Pearl, who was the older woman in X. And kind of like that's where a lot of it really hammered in the I will not accept a life I do not deserve type energy that we love
Yes.
Mia and Maxine so much
Right.
for. And then so this final movie, Maxine, is sort of like the It's supposed to be the wrap up, the end, but there has been a lot of talk about potentially a fourth movie, so maybe it's not. I don't know. Really hope there's not one, but we'll get into that. Essentially, Maxine
Yeah.
finally makes it. Our fucking movie star is in Hollywood and she's
Hmm.
about to start on her first movie, but the past is never just the past and it's kind of chasing after her throughout the movie. So I think that as far as like wrapping up the story, it did like a decent job of that. Like I do think that there's something to say about going back and kind of treading old ground and like touching base on
Right.
older things that happened. Obviously, Mia carries this whole movie on her back. I mean, she is such a baddie. She is so live. They definitely do kind of give to Maxine fans, and within the first few minutes of the film,
Fan
like it
service
very
type.
much had
Yeah.
yeah, fan service, exactly that kind of vibe,
Right.
which is with a very particular scene that once you see, you may or may not walk out of the theater. I'm just saying, like it's real graphic. Okay, it was really good. Like her energy is
I was thinking
unmatched. Okay,
all the men in the theater, I know they're like cringing so hard right now, and I wonder how many people walked out of there pissed about that scene, but
girl, I was cringing. I
I
don't even
was
have the
too.
anatomy for all that shit. You
Cojones.
know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But I will say that the movie, unfortunately, I just feel like it was just kind of was going downhill throughout. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily getting worse, but the final act was just not good at all. And at that point, I was just kind of just watching because we're
The
already in the theater,
climax.
and I just want to see what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah, that didn't really, and even the building up to it was kind of a bit too rushed. I really didn't have time
Yeah.
to care about or fall in love with Halsey's character or the other
Yeah.
blonde character. Of
I
course,
thought the
I'm
same
a
thing.
Moses Sumney stan. I love him, so I kind of like him. I will say that like obviously this is only like his, I don't know, second time on the big screen. Like before he did The Idol and now he did this. So like I know he's kind of
Right.
like getting his feet wet.
I liked
His
him. I thought he was cool. Yeah, his character was
Yeah,
cool.
he was a cool guy. I feel like he, acted like himself for the most part.
Right. He's the guy that plays for anybody that's seen the movie. He is the guy that plays
Her
her like
friend.
best friend, basically the guy that
Yeah, that
owns the
works at a
video
movie
store.
theater. Yeah, I just think that a lot of the characters could have been built in more. I
Yeah.
personally, I know that you loved Kevin Bacon, and I'm not saying that he
Wait,
wasn't good.
okay. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. Continue. Continue.
I almost, well, I don't, no, I don't want to like just like rant this whole time. Like, look, it
No,
wasn't
please
all
do.
bad.
Please do.
Aw, okay, okay. Well, I just thought there was, and I posted the letterbox review where someone was like Kevin Bacon playing as Coleman Domingo, and I was just like, drag him because oh
Drag
my
his
god,
ass.
y'all, the accents, the fit, the little cliches. I was just
Yeah.
like, wow, what is happening? Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of characters, I'm just really going off now.
No, you're
Damn.
fine. You're fine. You're fine.
I don't even really know why Michelle Monaghan and I can never remember this guy's name, but he's like in everything. The other couple, I have no idea
Yeah.
why they were in the film. I feel like they
Why
did
were they
nothing.
in the fucking movie?
Like they
Uh,
just, I hope too much of the budget did not go to getting them in there because it really just
right.
did not make sense.
Oh
So
my God. I'm sure a large part of it did. Well, let me start off by saying, did I think this movie had to be made first and foremost? Yeah, I think it did because
for sure,
we all wanted a happy ending for her. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it was
yes,
so necessary.
or an ending,
Um, right. I will say that as far as like the setting, the music, the fashion, like even like the like actual setting itself, like the sleazy streets of like 80s LA,
Yeah,
I thought that was amazing. Like honestly, impeccable. Like I don't think that could have gotten better. It looked really good. I like that
gorgeous.
they didn't go the like typical like day glow neon like party city 80s route. Like it's not anything
Yeah,
crazy or over the top. Like it just felt
yeah,
convincing, and I think that he did a good job with that in X and Pearl as well, as far as setting the tone for the time period. Music, amazing. I actually went on Spotify, found the soundtrack, and saved that bitch
yes.
because
There were
I'm
some good
listening.
tracks.
I'm listening.
Yes, new and
Um,
old, great mix.
exactly. There were some Giallo style shots, which you already know that's my shit. So I liked that, like the scene
Yes,
where she's dancing, and then it's like the leather gloves. Like that was fully an Argento moment
beautiful.
there, that and was obviously meant to be so. And I really appreciated that because of the time period in which it was set, and also because it just shows that Ty West is an educated director. Obviously, we already know that. I'm fully with you in the fact that the absolute demise and downfall of this movie was the ridiculous plot, and B, the
Yeah,
characters. The characters needed
yes,
so much work. To start, I will say there wasn't much going on with Maxine's character at all. There wasn't much to her. Like she actually
yeah,
didn't have a whole lot of vocal lines, which I thought was weird too.
yes.
Like half the
There's a
time
lot
she's
of
kind of
walking.
just looking and like nodding her head or shaking her head or just like
We're
reacting
smoking a
like
cig.
non-verbally. Right. Which
Yeah,
I was like, okay, that's fine. Like she doesn't have to be a yapper like us or whatever, but like it seems
yeah.
like the movie is
It's her
literally called
movie.
MaXXXine, you know? Um,
Right.
I will also say that I agree with you 100%. I think that some of the side characters had potential to be really strong and potential to really progress the story, like Halsey's character and like the other girl that I'm sorry I didn't look up the name of the character, but the girl that she did the
Yeah, the other
adult films
blonde.
with. There was basically no development at all with them. There was only one scene that either of them were in prior to
Yeah.
them being like kidnapped, which is not really like a spoiler, but I will say probably from this point forward, if you haven't seen this movie yet, there are going to be some pretty major spoilers ahead. So if they took out a lot of the characters that were unnecessary, Kevin Bacon's character included, look, I love seeing him be like a sleazy, just like gross man. Like I
PI
liked
dude.
seeing
Yeah.
that, but I'd like that to be from another movie. Like this was completely unnecessary. And we were talking about, and this is one of those spoilers that I was talking about. Kevin Bacon's character was like the messenger between like her and like the main bad guy that's like stalking
Yeah.
MaXXXine
Leatherhand.
basically. And I was just thinking, why did they have this guy doing it and not like so the whole theme of the movie is like basically how the 80s was like this really lush time and just really sleazy and how like churches were kind of fighting back and there was a lot of protesting and things like that. I didn't
Yeah.
understand why. For me, it would have made a lot more sense for her to be stalked by various like cultists, like people
Yeah.
that
Or
were like
protesters and
right,
church
like just
members.
extreme evangelicals. Like I thought that would have made a lot more sense, and then it would have made it scarier as well because it's not this funny, campy character. It's just like random strangers, and that's horrifying. Gang
Yeah,
stalkers, literally
absolutely.
gang
Yeah,
stalkers.
literally. Yes, religious gang stalkers coming for our queen Maxine and trying to get her to
Right,
denounce the evil in her soul. That would have been I would
absolutely,
have been here for it. Absolutely. And then
absolutely.
her trying to navigate, trying to get rid of them if she could or if she had
Yeah.
to.
And then potential
Yeah.
for more, it gives potential to show her ability to survive more as well. Because in the
Yes.
beginning of the movie, as Charlotte was saying, that scene that is, it's another spoiler, that scene that was upsetting to some
Where she's
people.
first attacked, essentially.
She's attacked by a man that is, you can assume that he wants to probably mug and sexually assault her. And she like literally crushes his genitalia. um it would have like okay you get this hint of like oh she is a survivor now, like we have that
Yeah,
idea of her, so why couldn't we see more of that? And if we had
for
more
sure.
option for like these like religious fanatics to come at her, then it's like oh here's an opportunity for a fight scene, here's an opportunity for an escape
Yeah.
scene, things like that.
Yes.
Instead, we get a long ass foot chase scene with fucking Kevin Bacon to the psycho house. Like, what in the
Yeah, like
world is happening?
stop. So
That was so
contrived. It was so extra and just strange. I don't know if they wanted to just have her run for a while. And I get that they didn't want her to constantly be like like murder machine Maxine. That wasn't supposed to be the vibe.
right.
But there's a way to like make it make sense, to make it a
Yeah.
part of her character,
And
especially now
that
she's
just
in
didn't.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that really, really just didn't. Yeah, I mean, I honestly just think that, long story short, if they would have taken out the unnecessary characters, they would have had more time to build background for the necessary side
Yeah.
characters, and we would actually give a shit when bad things happen to them.
It would give a lot more background to Maxine's story. Like I know that not every movie can be like, here's everything that happened since the last movie. I'm not asking for
Right.
that, but like, last time we saw Maxine, she was like a redhead, and like, she's
Yeah.
this long blonde person now. She's like in the heart of Hollywood, working these odd jobs. She has these friends. Like, I would love to know like just a pinch more about them and how this came to be before you just start whacking people off and like having everybody and their mom come after her. So
Right.
that's what it could have been
Absolutely.
better done for sure.
Yeah. It definitely pains me to like say anything critical about this like director or this like series because this is where my heart is. Like I love this series
Yes.
so much. But unfortunately this movie really was in a lot of ways a disappointment. Also, we have to talk about how the plot was like totally all over the
Yeah.
place.
I can't even tell you what
Bonkers.
it was. That's why I keep being like,
I
yeah, the plot. I can't really tell you.
as far as I'm concerned, the plot started at about the last 20 minutes of the movie. That's how I
Yeah,
feel.
literally.
The beginning of the movie was just kind of like this awkwardly thrown together backstory that wasn't really a backstory.
The beginning of the movie essentially was just her like auditioning for this movie, trying to get into the
Yeah.
role and everything and how that goes. And like that's cool. We're like seeing her life. I guess I didn't realize it was going to be more of like a drama starting out essentially because it really
Yeah.
was like nothing scary happened. It was mostly just
Right.
her. And like obviously in the backdrop, people are dying. They're talking about the Night Stalker, which also was like I like that was included, but it was also unnecessary. Like it never, that
I
plot line never
agree.
intersected with Maxine.
I
She never like
agree.
met the Night Stalker. Nothing happened. It was just
Right.
constantly in the backdrop.
Well, you know
Same
what I
as the
would have
protesters.
liked? What I would have thought was cool was like instead of the Night Stalker, it would have been a fictional character that could have
Yeah, for
ended up
sure.
being this main bad guy that's stalking Maxine, and that character could have been the same person. So it would have made more sense for me if it was like some fictional serial killer person that you end up finding out later on, because a lot of people were comparing the plot line to the Son of Sam stuff. It would have made more
Yeah.
sense if it really was like a Son of Sam situation in which it was like, oh, you find out it was multiple people are like, well, that's, that's conspiracy theorist Son of Sam stuff. But say that if
Still
the
something.
news in the movie thought that it was just one serial killer, and then you find out later on, oh, it was actually this group of like heretics, basically. That would have
Yes,
been way
yes,
cooler. It would have made sense for the time,
yes.
being that serial killers were so sensationalized at the time around the end of the 70s,
Yeah,
the
for
early
sure.
80s. That would have been
Absolutely.
chef's
And it would
kiss.
have been a beautiful way to tie in. Like I keep mentioning them, but
Absolutely.
they showed the protesters in the sign so much. It was
They
even
do
part of the marketing, but it really is again not central to the plot. Like Maxine
at
just
all.
walks past them a million times. They never really come up again. And it's just like they easily could have it. They could have been gang
Right.
stalkers. They could have been heretics. They could have just talked about this whole like satanic panic,
Yeah.
proliferation of porn, and then also
Yeah.
horror all at the same time. But that is such a
Yes. There
beautiful
was so
horror
much
moment to get
content that could have been
into.
tapped
That is
into.
Maxine, yes. And
Yes.
it's all just like background noise. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, then, and the other thing is until the end of the movie, she only sees the protesters in one spot. It's like at the entrance of like where they're
Right.
filming the movie. Like they didn't see them like outside like an adult film store or something, or they didn't see them like out, like she didn't see them in the streets or anything. It was literally like
Yeah.
once or twice or maybe three times, like around the area where she's filming. What was the name of the movie? The the
Was it a
Puritan.
remake of the Puritan? Or okay, yeah,
It's
the
a
Puritan.
sequel to The Puritan. They're all mad because it's the movie about like about, like basically religious things,
Yeah,
but they didn't even really tap into the whole porn thing. So I feel like that
yeah,
could have definitely taken it way to the next level, and that could have absolutely put it on par with the first two movies in my opinion.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely is like it feels like a very big departure from the first two movies. The first two really were, just authentic horror, authentic like sexual liberation versus, kind of like being in this wild time, wild theme. The other movies talked a lot more about religion and kind of like the effects of that, of the, what's the word I'm looking for, I guess, like Christian shame type things. This movie was just, it really just felt like we were just getting a peek into Maxine's life, and then all of a sudden they
Right.
had to like throw something in at the end, like, oh, by the way, here's a bunch of scary stuff. So
Yeah.
I will say that Elizabeth Debicki's character was really great. She did a great
Loved
job as
her.
like being a director. Loved her. She
Yes.
did a good job with her role. John Carlo, the lawyer guy, I feel like he was very campy and funny, but
I
it was
liked him.
cool.
Yeah, I
I
thought it
liked
was
him. I feel
okay. I
like he did
wasn't
a good
mad at
job. He's
it.
a good actor. Yeah,
Right, right.
he needed to be in there. He made sense to be in the movie. Like she's Hollywood now. She needs to have some kind of bodyguard if she's not going to be out here
Right.
whacking people herself. And obviously Mia Goth did good, but everybody else really like okay.
I liked Halsey.
I don't
I
know.
didn't understand the New York accent in LA. She could have just been a transplant. Who
I
knows?
guess she
And
just wanted to do that. I don't
I
know.
liked the other girl that Maxine's other coworker. But like I said,
Yeah.
we didn't have enough opportunity to really get to know them, which would have been great. Kevin Bacon could have just been taken out altogether or put in a different
Yeah.
movie. The two police officers, I think there would have needed to be a detective in order to move the plot along, but it could have just been one serious
Yeah.
detective. The like two like funny like campy
Yeah.
detectives
Good
was
guy,
really
bad
weird
guy.
and had no place in
Yeah.
the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that honestly, they could have just had Michelle Monaghan and then maybe even just had her die as a result of the serial killer, like in a dramatic like turn of
Something.
events. That would have been really
Yeah.
cool. Or maybe potentially
Yes.
it could have been the type of situation where, and I'm ranting a little bit here, but where they were getting close to figuring out who it was, and maybe she was getting close to get Maxine on her side, and then she dies unexpectedly. Something like that.
Yeah.
That would have been really
Something.
effective, in my opinion.
I will say, like, some of the themes that I feel like were just really like brushed onto the movie, like Maxine not wanting to help the cops and how she felt like she had to save herself and how
Yeah.
she did that in the other movies. That's real. I respect that. That's
Yeah,
kind
for
of like
sure.
cool. That's in
Absolutely.
line with her character. They probably could have played into that more. Maybe that's why they wanted the cops to be like so bumbling and so like just weird. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it was just kind of like brushed on. And then also kind of like her PTSD from everything that happened. Like you kind of go
Yeah.
into it thinking that like, oh, she's this badass killer person. And she is. But also like
Yeah.
she's trying to live her life and live her dreams after literally seeing everyone she knows dies in the other movies.
Yeah.
That's like fucked up and hard.
And dealing
So
with the guilt because apparently no one ever found out.
yeah, yeah. Which again, that could have been. I guess that's understood. Like, obviously, she got away with it all, but like, damn, y'all could have been like, yeah. So what has she been doing all this time? How'd she get away with it? You know, like just.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah. So I would say the plot and the characters, which is pretty much all the movie is, were really really lacking. Everything else,
Yeah.
the aesthetics were great, the vibes were great.
Cinematography, great.
Yeah, but just the meat of the actual movie was not good. And then
Yeah.
if you're down to mention the biggest spoiler of all and why we keep being like the flop, we can mention it now probably since it's toward the end of the episode.
Okay, yeah,
Or we
cover
don't
your
have
ears
to.
if you don't want to know. This is like a
Yes.
massive, massive spoiler.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna go ahead and you can go ahead and go for it.
Oh, I was gonna say, okay, so as we mentioned, Maxine's being stalked by this kind of like leather hands character. You never really see him in the movie throughout. He just kind of speaks through Kevin Bacon's character, the PI.
Hmm.
And then everything just kind of like ramps up towards the end, and that it turns out to be her preacher father that
Yeah,
is
which we didn't
the
even know her
person
father was
stalking
a
her.
preacher to begin with. So it was
I
kind of
really feel like that was not like explained in the other movies. I knew that she had a religious background, I guess, and then oh my god, and then I feel like they really, really, really phoned in the "I will not accept a life I do not deserve" thing. Like they were
too
just
much.
it was
It
on
was too
repeat
much.
at that point.
Yeah,
I
it
cannot
needed to
stand when a
stop.
movie or a show like finds a good punchline and then just starts beating it like a dead horse. Like that is so
Yeah,
cringe to me.
it was cringe.
So
Yeah, I mean, I
like
feel
it's
like they
sorry,
could
it's
have
just
saved
cringe.
it if they just saved it. Like I thought it was cute that they showed it in like the old like videos of her and her
Yeah,
family because it
the
was like,
home
oh,
movies
that's why she has that,
like burned in her
ideology. But it
brain.
was just like,
Absolutely,
yeah, the ending part where like her and
they're
her dad
saying
say
it
it
in
back to like
unison.
so weird,
Stop! That was
so
so
bad.
cringe, so
Yeah,
weird. And honestly, I did like that they did that, but I really didn't get like why her dad would say that. Like, what does that have to do with
right.
religious themes? You know, I feel like
Nothing at
that's not. I don't know.
all.
They try, and then
Yeah,
yeah, the dad. Pretty much like I said, everything at that point was just chaos. Like
yeah,
people are just dying in the dumbest of ways.
for
I
no
will say the
reason.
kills. They did good kills as well in the movie. I feel like everyone had like a very dramatic kill scene. People that died
Mm,
in the movie, it was very like visual. Maybe not always acted the best, but you know, it's kind of interesting. By the end of the movie, it's just like they're just throwing
went to
whatever to make
shit.
it stick.
Yeah,
Really, they were
yeah.
obviously like you mentioned this. I didn't think about it at the time, but they were obviously desperately going for like a crucifixion shot for Maxine, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
y'all are pushing it. This is too much. So
Yeah.
that's really where it just soured for me. Like at that point, I was just like, this is bad. This actually is not good.
Right.
If there was, I could probably have hung with the rest of the movie and been like, you know, it's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's my
Absolutely.
take.
I agree with you. Long story short, guys, I think we just overhyped it way too much for ourselves, and it ended up just honestly kind of being a disappointment. There were a lot of parts of the movie that I really liked and really thought were cool. Like we said, the music, the fashion, the setting, everything except for essentially the main plot and the characters. And I'm not going to say the entire plot because they had something going there, or potentially
Yeah,
could have had something going there with that plot, but it just never quite came to fruition. And I think that's where I'm at with that. Honestly, how sick would it be if
yeah.
you just remade the movie and just made it
Look,
better?
I would come back. I would really
I'd
watch
watch
it
it
again. That's
again.
how much I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, look, I stand
Yeah.
everybody. I'll come back and watch it again.
We'll
But
just say
this just
psych, that
wasn't
never
it, Dookie.
happened. Right.
Yeah. Well, look, the fourth one does come out, and it's
Yeah.
not a
You
complete
never
flop,
know.
maybe.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much
Anyway,
for listening. Thank you for coming back. I hope
yes.
that you liked this episode. I was really excited to do this one. And even though I wasn't super crazy about the movie, well, I've been thinking about it a lot. So let's say, even though the movie wasn't what I was expecting, I am still happy that we got to talk about it and that we finally got it out there.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
go check it out. Honestly, go watch the movie and let us know what you think, because I want to know what
Yeah.
you think and what was going through your head while everything was happening. And we will
Yes.
see you guys next time. Longlegs comes out tomorrow, so we're probably going to talk about that on the next episode. So you guys might want to
Yes.
check that one out so you can follow
Another hype
along.
movie. So
Absolutely. So
we'll
thank
let
you
you
guys so
know.
much. We will see you next time, and stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.